Welcome back, everyone. Today, we turn our attention to a matter of national importance, the urgent need for increased investment in Nigeria's young population. Speaker of the House of Reps, Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, has called for greater commitment to youth development as a cornerstone for sustainable growth and national progress. With a majority of Nigeria's population under 30, the call to action is clear. The future depends on how we empower the youth today, from education and employment to entrepreneurship and technology. The Speaker argues that empowering the youth is not a luxury, it's a necessity for national stability and progress. So today we ask, what does meaningful investments in the youth look like? What role should governments, the private sector play, and what steps must be taken to turn policy promises into lasting impact? Let's begin this conversation tonight with Ken Okuluwo, communication consultant, political affairs analyst. Thank you so much for joining us on the program, Mr. Ken.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Thank you very much. So how would you assess the political will behind Speaker Abbas's call for increased investment in Nigeria's youth? Is this likely to, translate into real policy shifts beyond mere talks?
I think that call was in the right direction, because if you look at it, on the 31st of May, if you remember very well, 2018, President Muhammad Buhari signed the Not Too Young to Run bill, and that was a landmark achievement. That bill tended to lower the age of those who could run for political office from 35 to 30. And the funny thing about it is, apart from what the Speaker has said, we have realized that it is basically those who participate in elections. The elections that they participate in are elections that always have to do with youths. Who are those that really vote in an election? It's the youths and the women. Those who they say carry out the process of rigging is the youths, ballot box snatching, and so on and so forth. So you cannot wish away the youths when it comes to an electoral process. In fact, somebody actually said that once you have the votes of the youths, you have won an election, and the women, because the men actually find it very difficult to come out during electioneering period. So what I'm basically saying here is that the youths are an integral part of the society. And so on a day like this, that is the International Day of the Youth, we must strive as much as we can to give them that opportunity, that sense of belonging, like it was in the early days of not only democracy, but even in the military rule. You find that Gowon married when he was 29 years old. He was already the head of state. You find that people like Babangida, people like Abacha, they were all under their 40s. And even in the early days, during this democracy that started in 1999, you found that the likes of Governor Duke, Governor Ibori, Governor Akpabio, and the others were under their 40s when they became governors. And so it is very important for us to encourage the youth to take that opportunity that they have to be able to be, part of the process, not only contributing, but becoming leaders of tomorrow.
Unbelievably also, the president had a lot in mind for the youth. So he had to separate the Youth Development Ministry from the Sports Ministry, both of which were merged under the same ministry for a very long time. Would you say the purpose for this separation is being achieved?
Well, the youth conference that the president has also decided to put together is to show definitely that this administration cares about the youth. But you see, the conference is not going to achieve its purpose if there are no set objectives and there are no clear-cut plans on what they actually intend that it will achieve. And so if you also look at the student loan funds, loans that before now were not in practice, that was also to carry the youths along. But someone the other day said, look, the amount of people who have gotten the students' loans, there are a lot, but they're a drop in the ocean compared to the number of students that we have in Nigeria. And that shows you that there's still a lot for you to do for the youths. And so when you talk about the separation, it's to appreciate the fact that these youths are a special breed. But when the youths are carried along, you are able to, expatiate on a lot of things. One, you are looking at the future, because they have the age advantage. Some of them can run for House of Assembly today. The same people can end up becoming senators. The same people can end up becoming president. Some today are local government chairmen. Some today are being co-opted, even in the private sector. For example, look at the Southeast Development Commission. Look at the MD. I probably think Makukoye, so he's not more than he's not up to 35. And so these are the kind of things that we expect that we should be able to give back to these youths who are coming up. But then again, a few youths who have also been in position have also not performed, so to say, as expected. But that should not discourage the society from knowing that the future belongs to the youths.
But do you think the Ministry of Youth and those in charge of that ministry have keyed into the president's vision for that demography? And I ask because, this separation was to enable governments to, pay deserving attention to the development of a huge youth population in Nigeria. But yet the many youth-targeted initiatives announced by the ministry often lack follow-through. And I've been wondering, what factors do you think are contributing to this consistent failure in implementation? Is it a question of leadership, budget constraints, or lack of political will?
One, the last you said, there has been a lack of political will. But well, that separation stemmed from the fact that you could see that the president wasn't satisfied with the immediate past Minister of Youth, and that's why she was dropped, and the Minister of State was elevated and the separation was done. You see, the fact remains that you must have the political will, you must have an action plan, and that's why I believe that the youth conference should not be one that most of the programs or the outcomes that will be, gotten from that conference will be swept under the carpet. We must be able to have a database for our youth. We must be able to have a database for the unemployed youth. One of the things you find out now is that we must not, we must call a spade a spade. While we agree that there's light at the end of the tunnel, times are still very hard now because of the economic situation we find ourselves. And that's why you had the Empower program of the last administration. People criticized it because it did not go as well as it was supposed to go, because that was supposed to be basically for the youth. Now you have the scholarship scheme, you have the funding scheme, and you also have like the NDDC. I must commend the MD, who I was actually in Port Harcourt, incidentally, with my boss on the 30th of July, 2024. And he launched you might say it's not so much, 50,000 naira per month scheme for 10,000 youths. But that 50,000 naira would go a long way in, reflecting the economy of the country. Because those youths will have mothers, will have sisters, will have brothers, who would also be those that will have been touched by that token that you are giving to them. But beyond such programs, which you can still say is a drop in the ocean, because 10,000 compared to the youths that we have is still a whole lot. We must be able to evolve a sort of framework that will allow these youths to become self-employed rather than only depend on white-collar jobs or jobs that are going to be given, or empowerment programs. And these are the things that can be done, and you can be able to be sure that that separation of the ministry would, achieve that. But a whole lot still needs to be done by the ministry. And I'm sure there are clear-cut programs that have been, and benchmarks that would have been given to the minister. And since he also saw the way his senior minister was removed, I think that will put him on his toes.
And I want you to be very specific. I want you to be very specific with your advice to the minister, because the truth is, many young Nigerians feel the Ministry of Youth is disconnected from their real struggles. For you, what steps should be taken to close the gap between the ministry and the youth it claims to represent?
I think the minister should work more with the National Orientation Agency. If I were in his position, I would marry the teacher of the National Orientation Agency, who happens to have 774. I don't know how functional the offices are, but he's supposed to have 774 offices in the 774 local governments of the country. That way, I will be able to now reach the grassroots through the National Orientation Agency. In that case, I will be able to carry a database of the unemployed youth. I will not wait for the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs to do that for me. I'll be able to carry out workshops that will have direct impact, even if it's on the state level, that can actually, impact on those who are unemployed, give them a chance of maybe training, give them a chance of maybe empowerment, and also reach out to those who hitherto before now have never had the government impact. Because I know there's no way the ministry will be able to reach out to 774 local governments if they don't have, a work plan. But I still believe that this minister, like I rightly said, will sense that from the way his predecessor was removed, who was the senior minister, would know that there's a whole lot on his shoulders, because there's really a disconnect.
All right.
And that was why the other minister was removed.
Absolutely. So let's move away from that. There's a noticeable gap between university graduates and industry requirements. For instance, and this is backed by recent research, which is a 2023 Nigerian Bureau of Statistics survey, around 80% of graduates lack proficiency in digital tools, such as Excel or CRM systems that are high demand by employers. Also, another research revealed that employers revealed that 62% of job applicants struggle with professional email writing or basic data analysis. There was another report, which was a 2024 PwC workforce survey, which shows that 73% of employers reject fresh graduates due to a lack of hands-on experience, even for entry-level roles. How can this be bridged? Should the curriculum be restructured? And what should or who should lead that process?
I think the Ministry of Science and Technology have not done a whole lot in this aspect. If you ask me, that ministry could do a lot better. Because you see, one of the things you must agree is that we are going into a stage where everything is being computerized. You hardly see people attend to you in some of those places. For example, I'm in London right now. When you are traveling back or when you're traveling out, you actually carry out the whole process yourself. You do your check-in, you do your baggage check-in, you take your tax and all that. It's not the same way it is when you're living in Nigeria. This is all because all those things are computerized. And so we have it. One person said the age of AI will make it very difficult for those who are graduates now not to take, in my time, I don't know what it is like now. We had this computer science 101 that was important. It was the JST requirement. Do you understand? In 100 level days. But now, in nowadays, it wasn't like the way it is now that you now have things like social media. Of course, you had emails, but how many people had emails in those days? And so what can be introduced is that schools can actually be empowered by way of maybe supporting them with computers and introducing computer programs just like Java and Cisco and all the others that can enable them enhance their knowledge. So even if you're an art student, those compulsory courses that you take in computer will give you the knowledge of how you can basically operate a computer. And it will not just be one that has to do with the science students. And so such programs would give them an understanding. But I don't think much of those programs are being carried out in our universities. It is even being done more in the private schools than in the public schools. And you have more population in the public schools than you have in the private schools. So that program should be, should aim at more of the public schools, more of those who are enrolled in such programs would increase when they see that there is support too from the government.
And another worrying trend is the rising drug abuse among Nigerian youth. Recently, the NDLA and WHO have indicated rising drug abuse among Nigerian youth, with estimates suggesting up to 14.4%, and that's about 14 million Nigerians, well above the global average. Would you say the Nigerian government has taken this issue, the issue of youth drug abuse, seriously enough? Did you get that, Mr. Akolugo?
Well, the drug abuse among youths have been a whole lot. Yes, I did.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Are you hearing me?
I can hear you. Please address that.
Yes, the drug abuse among the youths have been very prevalent. In fact, the most worrisome aspects are the females who have also found themselves so much into drug abuse. And, you know, the NDLEA, as much as they're doing their bits, must also show a lot of determination in using people as examples so that you act as a deterrent to others. You also find that a lot of those who are arrested, some of these cases are not brought to the fore. And so when these cases are not brought to the fore, you know, communication and information matters a whole lot. Then people can be back to what I said about National Orientation Agency too. There must be an enlightenment on the dangers of drug abuse. It must not be when we wait for a situation where it has become so critical and so bad, then we can now rise to say we are condemning it. We must be able to pull through while the situation has not gotten to a critical stage. And so enlightenment programs to discourage the youth from drugs is also very important, apart from stemming it by using those who are caught as an example to act as a deterrent.
Don't you think we're doing enough of that and it looks like it's not working? Mr. Akolugbo, did you get that?
Yes, I got it.
Yes.
Are you not with me?
Yes, I'm with you. You talked about enlightenment campaign, and I was asking, don't you think we've done enough of that? And it looks like it's not working.
No, I don't think we've done enough of the enlightenment campaign. The enlightenment campaign can never be enough because when you do the enlightenment campaign, you're sending a message across to people who you might think that you have sent the message across and it did not get there. It's just like what I told somebody that the Coca-Cola happens to be one of the most popular drinks, but they don't stop advertising because they want to always put you in their consciousness. So it can never be too much for you to carry on the enlightenment campaign. I don't think it can ever be too much.
Right. And with the kind of conversation you see on social media regarding politics and national issues, will you say young Nigerians are beginning to show greater interest in governance in the country?
Not as much as I think. Or not as much as I would expect. Mm. So because the youths, for example, more often than not, prefer during election time to be giving money to campaign for the older ones. I'm saying this out of experience. In the first time I ever got into politics, I was 30. And if I use myself as an example, I ran for the House of Rep and I came second. That was in 2003. I didn't think I could run for the House of Rep. I was even shocked when my leader then, Chief Boru, encouraged me to run for the House of Reps. And by the time I got into the campaign, the real campaign, I got into it with my body and soul. But unfortunately, I didn't make it, but I came second at 30. So if you can decide for yourself, and you know, that made a lasting impact on and shaped my career from then on, because that gave me an insight into what it was like to be a politician, to go into politics. Even though I also read politics in school, but it was practical. It wasn't more like the one we do in theory or the theoretical aspect. And so more often than not, what the youths are supposed to do now are supposed to be able to find themselves, the YPP, which is supposed to be their party, more often than not, they don't even find themselves in such parties. You don't have to even be in the YPP. Even if you're in the APC or you're in the PDP or you're in the Labour Party, so to say, you must be able to form a block that will make you very strong. And with that, you can even checkmate the older ones and hold them to ransom. Just like what you see in Senegal, the age of the president. He was just a tax collector, let me put it that way. But he was able to galvanize the youths, and that's how he was able to win the presidency. And so it's not impossible for the youth to put their acts together. But the ball is in their court to believe in themselves first and believe in what they can do.
All right. But because I was going to ask you, how do you think young Nigerians can, move from being passive recipients of policy to active drivers of national development? Are there structural barriers you think must be removed to achieve this?
Well, there are structural barriers because if you don't give them the opportunity, they will not be able to be drivers of the national policy or national projects. Well, let's look at it first of all. Let's be optimistic. Let's look at those youth conferences and see what comes out of it. Because I think the president must have seen through what you are saying and this kind of program you're having, trying to enlighten and shape the opinions of those as regards what who the youth should be. Let's hope that there will be some setting goals. For example, we are talking about the women today saying there should be reserved seats for women. We can't say there should be reserved seats for the youth because the youth are supposed to be able to. Power is not given, for example, it's not an a la carte. You fight for it, you struggle for it.
All right, then.
And you must be able to get it. But then again, even if you put them in national development, are they able to also drive the process?
All right, because of our time, Mr. Okolobo, you're a consultant, Communication and Strategy Officer of the Senate President. What's Senator Akpabio's message to Nigerian youth on this special day?
He has released the message, an official message through the office. He believes in the fact that the youths are an integral part of this country. They are integral part of the society, and that the youths must be encouraged, not only in development, not only in being able to achieve their goals, but to foster a process where they can become leaders of tomorrow. And especially for those who are not in school, for them to be able to get into school. And there's nothing like education, and he believes so much in it. Even when he was a governor, he was very passionate about it.
Thank you very much for being part of this conversation. Ken Okolobo, Consultant, Communication and Strategy Officer of the President of the Senate. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, the conversation has been about investing in Nigeria's young population, which is not just a policy choice, it's a national imperative. The future of our country depends on how well we equip our youth today. If Nigeria wants real progress, the youth can't be sidelined. They must be front and center in policy planning and national priorities. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But before we go, let's tell you that the views and reactions of our resource persons are theirs and have no connection with TVC News. Meanwhile, you can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode at 12:30 a.m. Get in touch with us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and X at TVC News NG and at Olajubo KW using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News NG. I am Olajubo Keola. So good night, everyone.